Welcome back. I'm really excited to introduce Meredith Lee as the Executive Director of the Western Big Data Innovation Hub. When we look at water data and data science, it's such a new idea, and there's so many people invested in data science, but and working at big technology companies, and Meredith's been a huge champion to bring in a huge pool of talent from all the top universities across the state through a wonderful annual data challenge that she helps to oversee and bring about. We just finished that up a few days ago, and it's really, I mean, as we look at trying to look at technology adoption and utilization of water data, we need to have the workforce and the people to do it. And I'd say Meredith's been a leader and a champion to bring in that pool of talent into the water sector. So I'm really excited to introduce her to moderate our next panel to look at the updates from the Water Data Consortium and where they're at today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Meredith to run the next session. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Drew, for the introduction and the opportunity to connect our amazing panelists with the summit participants. So welcome, whether you're joining quote unquote live at the webinar right now, or you're watching the recording safely after the fact. I'm honored to moderate the special panel as a California Water Data Consortium board member, as a California constituent, someone who was born and raised in the state, but more broadly as an advocate for data-informed decision-making and planning, whether at the local, regional, or global scale. In this session, we're continuing to build on the momentum and investments that were mentioned in the keynote remarks. As Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia noted, it's critical to invest in our infrastructure and our water access for quality of life and for getting people back to work. And as State Treasurer Fiona Ma emphasized, water is really intertwined with agriculture, housing, finance, so many different topics, and we need to do a better job of working together. Increasingly in our daily lives, and particularly in these challenging days, these challenging times, we're seeing that data can help us approach issues through different lenses, to discover new solutions, and to empower the community to really work together. And so even though I've personally spent many years collecting and analyzing all sorts of messy data, often in the dark basement as a grad student, or those days as an intern way back when, I definitely love the ones and zeros, don't get me wrong, but I've seen time and time again how it ends up being the people, the human capacity, and the collaboration around data that really drives success. So the Water Data Consortium, the California Water Data Consortium that you'll be hearing about over the next hour, is really this compelling example of meaningful collaboration that's been built by design. And the consortium is at such a unique, important moment of growth that I'm really thrilled we can begin this conversation reflecting on the opportunity that this unique entity represents and what motivates each of our panelists. So we'll start with Kamyar Giveci for a state perspective. Kamyar, you've spent 42 hopefully exciting and rewarding years at the California Department of Water Resources, or DWR. You've spanned technical and planning studies, program and division management, as well as broader collaboration efforts, including a 30-member state agency steering committee for the California Water Plan. And as a member of the state's partner agency team to implement AB 1755, the Open and Transparent Water Data Act, I'm wondering if you could start us off by sharing what you find really unique about the consortium.
Thank you, Meredith. And I appreciate this opportunity to join this Water Data Summit today. I have to say with that intro, it's these rose-colored glasses that keep me sane and keep me coming back and optimistic that we can actually make a difference. You know, to me, the Water Data Consortium is needed now more than ever. It's needed for decision makers to put water and ecological data to work, for enhancing the resilience of our water and ecosystems, and for managing water resources for sustainability, that triple bottom line of the economy, the environment, and equity. And data-informed water policies and actions are imperative if California is going to adapt to the more extreme floods, droughts, wildfires caused by climate change. We just have to look out our windows to see this happening around us. And we need this data to help us overcome the health, economic, and social challenges that are being caused by the COVID pandemic, including providing safe drinking water for all Californians. So, you know, our water and ecological data are as siloed as the many institutions that govern and the many sectors that manage water in California. And this is the backdrop at a time when data-informed water management necessitates much more rapid and consistent access to these many pools of data. The Open and Transparent Water Data Act, affectionately known as AB 1755, is transforming the way state and its partners publish, access, and use water data. And because it is now in statute, and because it applies to all state agencies, it's transcending administrations and organizations. And another innovation of AB 1755 is the provision to convene, with active state agency participation, the Water Data Consortium. The Data Consortium enables us to build a unique data partnership among government, the public, private, research, and philanthropic organizations. This is essential for meeting not just the letter, but the spirit of AB 1755, for putting data to work. Back to you, Meredith.
Wonderful. And for those who are following along in social media, gotta love that hashtag putting data to work, hashtag AB 1755 and open data. It's been really encouraging to see over the last few years, folks like Kamyar and the partner agency team, cohort, and the broader community really embrace this collaborative spirit. And it's what keeps me coming back as well, that inspiration and the thought that we can together make a difference. I want to turn now to June Lopez, who continues to lead and support so many collaborative efforts. I'm always just in awe of you, June, as General Manager of Molten Niguel Water District, really setting a gold standard about data science in action and collaborations forming all the time. You're also a board member, fellow board member for the California Water Data Consortium and our treasurer. Important role for sure, and a founding member of the California Data Collaborative nonprofit that represents 21 million Californians. So this summit in its 5th year is definitely a testament to all of that teamwork. Could you share with the participants what excites you most about the consortium?
Hi. Thank you, Meredith. That was so kind. And it's always good to be on a panel with Kamyar and Tara and Meredith because it's just fun. We always talk together. So this is another conversation, except we're sharing it with hundreds of people. And welcome to the Data Summit. This is the first panel. I'm very excited that over 300 people registered for this, so we broke all kinds of records. And yesterday we had our first virtual datathon and over 80 people from 8 different countries. And that is why I'm excited. It's about the people. And you heard Meredith say it, you heard Treasurer Fiona Ma talk about it, because to me, data is about people. Data allows people to act, to do good. And I want to explain that because I like acronyms. For those of you know me, you know I like acronyms because it's like a sticker for the brain. There's a lot of things on our mind, and acronyms help us remember. So A is for awareness and accountability. As Kamir talked about, today's challenges facing utility isn't just about climate, isn't just about technical issues. There's a lot of social element that gets folded into it. And we've seen that with COVID. We've seen that with the social unrest. Our goal and our role in what we do is connected to every facet of society. So the more that we are aware of our responsibility and how well we are doing, but also sometimes maybe we fall a little short, data allows us to understand how we're impacting different communities. Are we serving as we should, as best as we could? What's working, what's not? And that allows us to be accountable to the public because we are all public servants, and that's what this is all about. C is for connection, especially at a time like this when we're all separated. Would love to see all of you in a room, and I can't wait till the day until we could be face to face, but this is the next best thing. At a time when we're so missing the connection, data allows us to speak the same language because we're looking at the same thing. And just this data collaborative effort and the California Water Data Consortium effort is a prime example of bringing people together to do good and creating that connectivity, not just within the water space, but with those partners outside of water. And I always say it's so important to talk to other people that you have nothing in common with. Otherwise, you're just talking to yourself and you don't really grow or stretch yourself from doing that. And we were able to strike partnership, even for an agency, a retail agency like ourselves, with people like Netflix and Amazon, and utilizing their talent, their tools that we can't even have access or afford, to elevate how we operate our business and make decisions. So having these kinds of connections make all of us better because there are a lot of people in different sectors that want to help solve water problems and issues. And especially at a time when we need to be more connected to people at all different levels, data allows us to make these kinds of connections. And just the fact that we have people from all over the country, all over the world, that is super exciting because that is creating a global community. And I learned from Meredith, community of practice, which is where we all learn from each other by trying and failing and trying again. And that kind of connection is so important because when we look at water, we are integrated into every facet. So the more that we can all work jointly together and be part of the solution, we are stronger when we are together. And T is for transformation. As Kamir said, these efforts transcend any particular individual administration. This is a movement that belongs to all of us because this allows us to learn from each other, work together, so we transform and grow as people and get better. And that makes our industry even that much better. You know, for a public agency, it's so important to evolve. It's just like any living thing. If you don't grow, you're dying. And as a public agency, if you're not transforming, if you're not evolving, you're becoming irrelevant. And as a public agency, that's not an option. Who does not want to not matter? We have to be relevant and we have to reflect the world that we live in. We have to be connected to the world that we live in. And things like diversity, we talk about this a lot. Diversity is about perspectives, and data allows the diverse views to come together to identify common grounds, to better understand the differences, and start a dialogue that's factually based and collaborative so we can move all of our efforts forward. So that's the part that's exciting. And if we get it right, and I am certain we will, we can definitely do more good than we've ever done. And that's the part that is really fueling me when we look at all these kinds of data efforts. And by the way, I appreciate you saying lead, Meredith, but so many people have come before this effort, people like Kamiar, and I can't believe you've been working for 40 years, Kamiar, you look good. But others at the state level, on the ground level, all over the world, those who have persevered, those who fought the status quo. This is a moment in time where we can all celebrate for all of your hard work. So we're all leading and growing together. That's why I'm excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I know you and I have had some conversations about how exciting it is for the consortium that we're able to bring on Tara Moran, who's next in our panel. Tara, we're so excited to have you on board officially. I think this marks the second week that you've been president and chief executive officer of the California Water Data Consortium, hitting the ground running for sure. You've spent your career collecting, analyzing, and interpreting technical water and water-related data over the years. I won't guess if it's near Kamiar's 42 or not. I don't think it is, but we have diversity of perspectives and experience for sure here. In more recent years, you've transitioned to research on governance structures and collaboration and dispute resolution in the water sector. You were also the co-founder of a software startup developing visualization tools. So you really embody many of the attributes and expertise that the consortium is seeking to facilitate. Could you share a bit about what drew you to the consortium? We're so glad that you're now CEO and president, and maybe share what you hope motivates our audience here to get involved.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for the kind introduction, Meredith, and for everyone for being here today, for the Data Collaborative and everyone who has helped make this event possible. Really appreciate being here today and participating in it. I also want to just acknowledge that these are extraordinary times, and the two things that the pandemic and recent social unrest have really highlighted for me are, number one, the importance of data and ensuring that we're making informed decisions and focusing our precious time and resources to efforts that are going to have meaningful outcomes. And number two, just the incredible power of publicly available data to empower individuals. And I really believe that these lessons translate to the efforts that the consortium and groups like the California Data Collaborative and others are undertaking with water data in California. And so in response to your question, Meredith, the things that drew me to the consortium, well, firstly, it's that California, I really believe, is at a tipping point. There is a deep recognition that open and transparent water data is a key component in ensuring California's resilient water future. And importantly, that recognition has translated to the desire and willingness of individuals and agencies across sectors to, number one, put aside politics, and Treasurer Fiona Ma touched on this. You know, this doesn't need to be a partisan issue. But secondly, it's also translated to people rolling up their sleeves to get work done and to achieve these very ambitious goals that have been set. And so I am just thrilled to be part of an organization that is actively working to support these efforts. And it's incredibly exciting to me, and I feel incredibly honored to be here and part of it. But the second piece that drew me into the consortium is all of the thought, care, and effort that the partner agency team and everyone that has worked with them and supported their efforts that they have put into implementing AB 1755 and developing the governance structures and putting them in place, putting the governance structures in place to actually encourage active participation across sectors. And so it's with that sort of that thought in mind that I want to just take a minute to briefly talk about what those governance structures look like, the consortium's role within them, and how people can get engaged. So firstly, the goals of the Open and Transparent Water Data Act, which we heard about previously from Kamiar, they're relatively simple. Their goal is to make water and ecological data open and transparent through an open access platform to help water managers operate California's water systems more effectively and to help water users make informed decisions. But as I mentioned before, the agencies responsible for implementing the Open and Transparent Water Data Act didn't stop there. They have really sought to go beyond legislative mandates to embrace this shared vision of high quality, interoperable, publicly available data to support data-informed water management in California. And they recognize that in order to achieve this goal, it would require partnerships between and ongoing dialogues between public, private, research, and nonprofit sectors to actually be effective. And that's really where the consortium comes in. So first slide, please. The California Water Data Consortium is a nonprofit organization committed to supporting the ongoing development of interoperable, publicly available water data to support sustainable water management in the face of climate change and other pressures on the resource. And it facilitates this vision by serving as a neutral space for ongoing dialogue and collaboration between the state through its partner agency team and private entities, nonprofits, and academia. And so we're sort of this neutral space where we can encourage dialogue and ongoing collaboration and work between these two entities. And if all of you are anything like me, you're saying, okay, Tara, that sounds great, but how does that actually work functionally? And so next slide, please. The consortium's governance structure, which I'm showing an image of here, was developed to provide mechanisms and venues for ongoing participation. And so we have several venues for that created by design. So we have a steering committee that is currently being formed, and the steering committee will be composed of a mixture of state agency representatives and non-state agency representatives. And they, in conjunction with our board, will set priorities for the consortium. They'll work hand in hand with our partner, with our two working groups. One is a technical working group that will be making technical recommendations. And the second is a data users working group that will be identifying potential pilot projects and advancing those moving forward. So there are several venues for individuals and agencies to contribute substantially to shaping the consortium's work and advancing the goals and implementation of AB 1755. And this is the part that I think is really unique about the consortium and a large part of what drew me into it. And so I'll pause there, Meredith.
Wonderful. And we're starting to get some questions in the poll. Definitely encourage people to add their chat questions. And I believe the organizers are going to share a link to subscribe to the consortium mailing list. And they'll be putting up a poll. Please see that already, to share if you've heard about the consortium incorporation and launch before this panel, if you attended the launch event in June, are applying, nominating, or sharing the call for the steering committee, et cetera, including if you've participated in AB 1755 events and activities like the Datathon earlier this week that June mentioned. And we're so excited to see all of the teams forming across the globe this week and preparing their projects for December 1st. The video of the consortium launch also, where we welcomed Tara for the first time, is available and is being shared in the chat window as well. So as we're giving all of the participants some time to answer this poll about the consortium engagement to date, Tara, maybe you could say a little bit more about some of the early opportunities and projects of the consortium. And if we could get the host maybe to change to gallery view so we could see all of the panelists again easily, that would be wonderful.
Yes, of course, Meredith, no problem. Yeah, so as I mentioned in my introduction, having high quality interoperable data is really the foundation for making data-informed water management decisions at present, as well as planning for a water resilient future. And so this idea was really reinforced in the water resilience portfolio that came out this past July, which calls for the modernization of water data systems to inform real-time water management decisions and long-term planning. And the portfolio lays out a number of steps necessary to achieve this goal, including streamlining data submission and reporting to the state to avoid redundancies and improve overall data accuracy and consistency. And so the work of the consortium that the consortium will be undertaking in collaboration with the data collaborative, the state, and hopefully with many of you, is intended to support these efforts and provide solutions for long-term water resilience in California and beyond. And so with that in mind, I want to talk briefly about our data streamlining efforts. This is one of the areas that the consortium will be focusing on. And after I've talked about that, I want to take just a few more minutes, just another minute or two, and talk about some other avenues for engaging with the consortium. So at present, reporting entities like water utilities spend significant amounts of time reporting data to different state agencies at different times. State agencies then have to take and QA/QC those data before making them publicly available. So these reporting redundancies place significant burden on both the reporting entities, which ultimately costs them time and money, but it also, has a cost for state agencies in the hours that are required to QA/QC reported data, which is significant. So having templates and controls in place that can provide an initial QA/QC screen could provide significant savings for these agencies. In addition to some of the reporting redundancies that I just talked about, data are often reported in different formats to different agencies, all at different time intervals. And this not only creates additional redundancies, it makes it difficult to integrate data sets between state agencies. And Camiar spoke about that with the siloing within state agencies as well as beyond. But it also makes it difficult to integrate these data sets across regions and sectors. So these inconsistencies ultimately hinder our ability to think about our water management system holistically and to make informed water management decisions at regional or the state scale. And so we'll be working with reporting entities to understand what data they're reporting, what challenges they're encountering, and redundancies within that system, what the redundancies within that system are, and working collaboratively with them to address those concerns. But this effort, and this is, I think, kind of the unique part, is that this effort will occur in concert with discussions with state agencies, state agency representatives, via our working groups and steering committee, to understand the format and frequency of data necessary to support management decisions by state agencies and other decision makers. So doing this will enable us to transition to this more streamlined reporting process where data are reported through a central portal and they're then accessible to decision makers as needed. And this provides a variety of potential outcomes for automating verification reports, providing summary reports for regulators, initial QA/QCs that I spoke about previously, required metadata fields, that can help us to understand and mitigate some of these existing data inconsistencies. But more importantly, this interoperability ultimately lays the foundation for these broader impacts that we talked about previously. Things like the integration of data and information across sectors, the development of data analysis tools, visualization tools, and the models necessary for planning for a resilient water future in California and beyond. Finally, the pandemic and resulting economic downturn that, again, Treasurer Ma spoke about in the introduction have served to reinforce the importance of cost savings, increased efficiency, and the importance of pooling resources and working together to be as effective as possible. And so data streamlining really represents a significant opportunity to improve our efficiency and our collaboration overall. The final piece that I want to talk about here is that when we talk about water resilience, we're really talking about resilience for everyone. And I really want to reiterate this idea that was raised earlier. This is an initiative that is in development. We are building the plane as we fly. And that means that we're relying on all of you to become involved in the Water Data Consortium and to give us your input to help us shape this initiative and to tell us what is important and what's of value to you. And so I've already talked a little bit about our steering committee and working groups, but I did want to say that the consortium is currently accepting applications for seats on our steering committee. You can learn more about that process on our website, as well as find the application there. We are looking for energetic, solutions-oriented individuals across a range of sectors and expertise, from data and water management to community organizers, academics, and water utilities. And so if I just described you or someone that you know, I encourage you to apply. Applications need to be in by the end of this month, August 31st. Once we have the steering committee in place, we'll be developing our working groups. As I mentioned, this is where a lot of the ideas and substantive work around technical recommendations and pilot projects will be undertaken. So this is really another great opportunity to participate in the consortium in a substantive role. You can learn more about those opportunities by signing up through the consortium's listserv. Again, that's available on our website. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to sign up for the listserv or reach out to me. You can also use a listserv to get information about our other public events. As we heard earlier, we had a public event in late June. We're planning another one for this fall. And we really try to make these events interactive. We want to hear from you. So our last one, we had several breakout sessions. We're planning to have a similarly engaging event moving forward. And then finally, we'll be reaching out to you through our fundraising initiatives. And I just really encourage you, if you have ideas that you think would be helpful or you've seen be successful in the past, I would love to hear from you. My contact information will be available. It's available on our website. So I encourage you to reach out to me and learn more and share your ideas. So thank you.
Wonderful. So there's definitely lots of opportunities to leverage June's acronym or sticker for the brain with ACT. Lots of ways that you can act and get engaged. And to the point of interactive events, the hosts are doing an amazing job asking for your input. Here's, I think this is our final poll for this panel, but as Tara and June and Kamyar mentioned, there are so many different ways to add your voice to this conversation. The second poll is specifically looking at the pilot around data streamlining. I know a lot of us would want to select all of these things are important: reducing time or resources needed, getting access to better data, increasing the quality of your reported data. But it's a harder question trying to prioritize which one is most important to you and your organization. So definitely we'll be looking for the live poll there. And in case you missed it, one of the opportunities for community input that followed from the consortium launch event was a user interface survey that is currently still live online. That link is being shared in the Slack and in the chat. And so we definitely encourage you to share your feedback about the user interface. I have to give thanks to Kamyar for confirming that that survey is still live and available for our summit participants to share what's really important to them and their organizations. So we're at 11 o'clock, still on time. Excellent. So in speaking of priorities, and in particular, the water resilience portfolio that was just released, I'm curious, Kamyar, to hear your perspective and a state view of the recent roadmap. Could you elaborate?
Sure, Meredith. So as Tara mentioned, just a short month ago, the administration released the final water resilience portfolio after a significant public review and comment period from earlier this year. And it's important to understand the role of the portfolio for the administration is our roadmap and our commitment to taking actions needed to improve and expand California's capacity to prepare for, to withstand, and to recover from disruptions like the pandemic, from climate-related shocks, and to really help us prepare and adapt to future conditions. Now, if you haven't had the time or taken the time to look at the portfolio, the meat of it is just 20 pages. There are some meaty, detailed appendices, but I encourage you to search Water Resilience Portfolio. You'll go to that website on the Natural Resource Agency portal. Take a look at it, because over the next several years, this is what the Newsom administration is going to be using to allocate resources, to expend funding, and to organize our work. So in looking at the portfolio, there are, it spans the missions of 3 cabinet level agencies: Natural Resources, Cal EPA, and Department of Food and Ag. So it's very broad in its scope, but yet was prepared around a set of principles to ensure that the actions are aligned and consistent. Also important is the 142 actions. In addition to those, there are 11 priorities that the administration has identified as being very important and needing immediate attention. The good news for the effort that we're talking about today is that one of those 10 or 11 priorities is better leveraging of information and data to improve water management. So we rank way up there in what the administration says is necessary. And if you look at the other priorities, it won't take a lot of imagination to realize that each and every one of those need good and better data and will generate data in their implementation. The other part of this is that the state agencies intend to track and share on an annual basis the progress for implementing the portfolio. Well, to track and share, you need to have good data. So there again is another important component of the portfolio that will be informed and enhanced by the work of the Water Data Consortium and everyone who's now participating in this summit. Thanks, Meredith.
Thanks, Kamyar. And I'll just remind folks that the panelists are open to your questions. We have hundreds of people tuned in, and I have multiple windows. I've got the Slack channel, the Q&A, social media. If you're texting me questions, I'll try to get to that too and try to find common ones that are popular. So please add not only your immediate questions or ideas for the consortium's first pilot projects, but also I'd encourage folks to think about the longer term trajectory to reflect on what questions have yet to be asked or discussed, and let the consortium know what should be on our radar that you hope that we can discuss more at next year's summit, the coming months, and via these 2 packed days of this event. We do have a question that came in from Momcilo Savovic. How do I become a member of the Water Consortium? I guess we all convinced them already to get engaged. June, would you like to share a bit about our thinking on membership and maybe some of the models of engagement that you've seen to be effective in your work?
Sure. And by the way, so happy that we have Tara on as our CEO. We're very excited, and we have great board members. And I want to touch upon that a little bit, and then I'll get to the question. We have a great cross section of representation on our current board. We have Mike Maya from the Water Foundation, Joya Banjere from Bechtel Foundation, Debbie Franco from the Governor's Office, Eric Ever representing the both ag, and also his Data Utopia. If you heard that, that's Eric. Dave Orth from the ag community, and we have Adrian Calvert from the Bay Area Council. We have obviously our Meredith Lee right here, and also Devin Upatahe from Metropolitan. So really good section and reflection of the communities that we serve. But to get involved, as Tara mentioned, there's a room for everyone. This is a very big table that we are setting, and we'll make room for those who want to get involved. And there's different capacities. Certainly, if you are interested in being on the board, we're always looking for future board members. If you are interested in participating on the steering committee that's going to drive the work and the priorities in conjunction with the board of directors, the application process is going on now. The working group, if you really want to roll up your sleeve and get into the weeds of it and actually start making things and working on things and building that community with other agencies and other sectors, there'll be opportunity for the working group. All these stuff will be on the website, but I strongly encourage you to reach out to the individual board members. If you get on the website, you'll see Tara's information there. You'll see mine and my fellow board members. Reach out to us because we really are passionate about this and we want to talk to you. So we'll make the time. But again, whether you want to get involved formally within the structures that Tara outlined, or if you just want to be part of this movement and work together. If you're part of an effort that's currently underway or even in the past, if you've got something going on that you want to work in partnership with us, that's another way. There's always creative and new ways of working together, and you won't hear us say no because we would love to hear your feedback. So again, reach out to us individually. There's the formal way that you can get involved, but if you're interested in unique and creative partnership with the Water Consortium, then we absolutely welcome that. And there'll be more and more opportunities. I strongly encourage you to tune in to our next meeting in September, which will be on the website, because as we get on to the breakout session, we'll have more opportunities to directly hear back from you and talk to others, because we really want this to be something that we all build and move together. Nothing is set in stone. This is not about enforcing regulations or making policy or advocating a certain position. This truly is a neutral space where all opinions, all perspectives are welcomed and respected. And this is what's going to allow all these other entities that whether they drive policy or advocacy, whatever they do, this will certainly help to inform what is better than what we are doing now. So lots of opportunities ahead, but then also if you think of ideas that you think you can get involved, we'd love to hear from you too. Thank you for your question.
Wonderful. And I just put in the chat the link to the website, the mailing list, the launch video from the end of June event that just got posted and is split up so you don't have to watch the 4 or 5 hours all in one go. Thanks to the DWR team for getting that more bite-sized. Tara or
She's a
Kanya?
multitasker.
Well, you know, we learned from the Datathon over the last 2 days with all the different time zones and channels, and your team did an amazing job hosting that. And we've got quite a lot of opportunities from now until those projects are due December 1st to multitask with all these different ways of communication. Kamiar or Tara, did you want to add to June's comments about consortium engagement?
Tara, you want to go first?
Sure. First of all, I'm so excited to hear that people are interested, and June, great comments. Thank you so much. So I don't have a lot to add, except that I do want to go back to a point that June made earlier as well, which is, you know, the consortium, number one, is in its infancy. And so we're looking to all of you to help to build it. And so again, as June stated so well, we need your help to build it and really share with us your ideas for how to shape this and how to make this useful for you and everyone moving forward. And certainly the consortium is going to grow, and it's going to need to continue to evolve. And the best way to do that is having you give us honest and constructive feedback as to how to do that, and help us with your ideas about how we should innovate and how to build this organization. So you're really coming in at the ground level, and that's to say that it's sort of a wide open slate for us to do whatever we think is going to be the most productive and provide the best value. And so we'll really be, you know, arms wide open, but we also do want to be strategic about how we're using our resources and everyone's time, because it is so precious. So get involved, sign up on our listserv, send me an email and let me know, you know, where you would like to fit in, or pick up the phone and call. We would love to hear from you, and yeah, just really excited. So thank you.
Yeah, so I'll add in. June mentioned a bit ago that data is about people. And so while we all talk about wanting to access data, we also want to access people and constituencies and communities. And I see the Water Data Consortium as being a really great opportunity and a vibrant example of public-private, nonprofit collaboration. And about a year ago, the Secretaries of Natural Resources and Cal EPA put out a joint letter saying that we are committed to being active participants in the Water Data Consortium. So we are, as June mentioned, we're not here to supplant other people's collaboratives and work. We want to build a network. So think that, you know, these are networking the great work that's already been done and trying to leverage that. And so if you want to have access to state government and what we're doing on data, we've been directed to work in the Water Data Consortium. So come on down. And I just keep wanting to reinforce, it's not what the state's doing and the consortium is doing. We are part of the consortium. And the consortium I see as being a great way to have focused recommendation and advice to state government about improving water and ecological data.
Fantastic. And we have a question from Chris Sosnowski on Slack, noting that we asked for longer term questions, so they'll bite. Listening to the vision and the direction for open water data, open is in parentheses, is inspiring. Are there some good long-term strategies to eventually bring these successes and vision beyond California borders? For instance, while Illinois and the Midwest is proud to tap the largest freshwater source in the world, we sure could use some water data that is open long-term and that vision. And we're humble enough to learn from our water friends in California. Well, Chris, you definitely point to a word that I often use in thinking about how do we get these you know, visionary ideas and successes to actually happen. The humility of the people gathered at the table, the opportunity to ask who isn't here and how can we get them here? How do we work together to co-design, to learn from colleagues, to build on each other's failures, successes, like give all the raw information in terms of what worked, what didn't work, and where do we go from here? That's been really great to see. For me personally, when I was doing engineering, I took a side sort of week to learn about the world of innovation and design and collaboration. And one of the pivotal moments for me was just the framework of honest feedback, to Tara's point, saying, what do we like about this particular data set, situation, governance structure? What do we wish might be different? And then how might we together get to that improved state? So we've seen that time and time again stretch beyond California's borders. Just yesterday, the New Mexico Open Water Data team was heavily involved in the event for the Water Data Challenge. We had to create a new hashtag. Instead of just CA Water Data Challenge, there's NM Water Data Challenge or Western Water Data Challenge. And there's so many networks like the Internet of Water, like COASI, like, you know, federal partners who provide this community of practice and opportunity to learn from each other and sort of forget at some point about the artificial state boundaries, or compare notes about how the policies are different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but hopefully the vision and the desire to collaborate around water data is consistent.
So Meredith, could I just,
Please.
let me just add in, you mentioned the Internet of Water, and we've been working with the Internet of Water as part of AB 1755 implementation for the last 2+ years. In fact, Internet Water grew out of an initiative from the Aspen Institute, and we actually exchanged lots of back and forth in what has now become the Water Data Consortium. So there's been a lot of information exchange, and we are also now working with the Internet of Water on pilot projects, just like we're teeing up for the Water Data Consortium. So if you're looking for a venue for multi-agency or national, multi-state or national data, I would strongly encourage checking out the Internet of Water site and seeing what they have to offer you.
Yeah, and I'll just build on that. I completely agree. And one of the pieces that they are really working on is developing this GeoConnects site that will ultimately allow you to have standardized data across the US essentially. And it'll be location based. So you can actually go in and look at water in your region or anywhere else in the US, and it'll be able to pull that data. And so it really is an attempt to learn from, you know, each state, what each state is doing individually, but then to integrate those data at a broader level. And so again, I think they're a great organization, and I encourage you to reach out to them as well.
I like that question about what is the long-term vision, because it depends how you define long, because in this world and age, things move so much faster. And especially in time of crisis, it's tough, it's very difficult, but there's so many opportunities there to do more and to do better and to do it faster, because crisis can't wait for you. So we all have to be just a little bit more agile. And so I think it represents a great opportunity. And when you look at even, I remember when we didn't have internet, when we didn't have this technology, when we didn't have the smartphones, all these innovations have changed our lives. It's become our norm. And so the long-term vision is that sharing data, creating this global community, not making about boundaries or by entities, not by labels, but diversifying all of our efforts and bringing unity within that diversification. When that feels just like breathing, just like when we check our phones and when we get on Google to check every information under the sun, that is the long-term vision. And if you look at how quickly our lives have changed, it's very encouraging. because in order to do what data is supposed to do, we cannot wait. So there's a sense of urgency. That is your call to action. Get involved, but get involved now, not later, not when you have time, because we need a lot of hands on this. And this is what we're all working towards. And bringing all these different efforts, again, under a unified umbrella only makes our efforts that much more meaningful and powerful, because if we can share resources and if we can share the human talent, there is no limit to what can be achieved, and there is no bounds to how fast we can achieve it. And of course, just like with anything, you need resources, you need people, you need funding. This is the reality part of what we're trying to create to make it sustainable and survivable. So the long-term vision, all of that is what we're defining together. But let's do it now, and let's do it fast so we can do big things real soon.
Wonderful. And since we're nearing the end of this session, I think we'll have time for one last set of comments. I'm sure we'll all be on Slack and throughout the summit on Zoom chat. And as Tara shared, there's all sorts of ways to connect via the consortium website. But in the remaining time that we have, I'd like to give everyone a chance to just share a few go-to resources or upcoming opportunities where the audience can easily stay connected and contribute. Let's start with Kamyar.
Thank you, Meredith. You know, the one resource that I would encourage you to check out is what we call the AB 1755 Implementation Journal. And we just updated the journal at the beginning of August. It's online. I think we'll be providing you the link to the journal. It really is a one-stop shop narrative about the journey we've been on over the last 2.5, 3 years. And it's not a paper report. So we thought, hey, we're in data, we're in technology. How can we make this an interactive story and narrative? And when you check it out, you'll see that in addition to some text, there are live portals, web links that are available for a deeper dive. So if you're looking for one place to go to really get a sense for what all is being worked on, I would suggest the journal. And just to tick off, it gives you the legislative background. It talks about how we federated existing data portals toward interoperability. There's an inventory, working inventory of state data sets. We've just, at the beginning of August, added the federal data set access. The strategic plan, we talked about the long-term vision, that's there. We have a section on the Water Data Consortium and the Internet of Water. A whole section on what we call use cases needed to link data to decision making. And then the civic engagement and partnerships like the data challenges and next steps, and then a laundry list of other web links as resources that you can go to. So check out the implementation journal. Thanks.
And June, you've already mentioned that an extremely valuable resource is the people. Any other go-to resources or opportunities you'd like to point out?
Yes, so we have the California Water Data Consortium website. We also have the California Data Collaborative website. But also something that's interesting is a Bloomberg Data for Good exchange. Every year they host this free event. They talk about all these ways and examples and showcase good efforts to use data to do social good. And it's really insightful, it's really enlightening and energizing. Also, one of the things that I've been on a little bit of a kick lately is the importance of storytelling. Again, it's not an original idea. I've heard from a lot of different people the importance of how we tell the story, whether it's about water, data together, making it compelling, making it meaningful, and we have to tell better stories. And so I was talking to a friend from England, and he said to check out an podcast called The Moth. It's a series of stories, and I haven't heard it yet, so I hope it's good since I'm putting it out there. I'm gonna check it out. I trust him. And it's about how to tell stories in a way that resonates with people that you're trying to connect with. And lastly, I just want to thank everyone who makes this 2 days work. Drew, Paige, Elena, Matt, Randy, Chris, Scott, Alan, all those people behind the scenes, because I know you're very stressed out with this many attendees and making sure that we have no glitches with the rolling blackouts and with the expectation that everything runs smoothly. So thank you for being the backbone of all this. And I'm just thrilled to be part of this panel and the next 2 days.
Wonderful. I didn't know you were going to mention D4GX. I've been on the program committee for that, and actually wrote a piece about it's time to discuss data ethics at your dinner table, inspired by the first ever D4GX that was held on the West Coast. So absolutely another great example of a community of practice and so many synergistic efforts at the national and now global scale. And you know, I love data storytelling, June.
Well, and if you've got links, do that chat thing that you do, because
Yes, I'm putting the chat links there. We'll put it on Slack as well, since all the Zoom links will go away after the meeting. Absolutely. And so now to wrap us up perfectly on time, we'll end with Tara and encourage everyone to follow those links as well. Tara?
Perfect. I can be short and sweet. I've spent a lot of time talking about the resources that I think would be great to engage in. I also wanted to say, in addition to our website and our listserv, AB 1755 also has a listserv. If you want to get connected, they're also a fantastic resource. And then the other thing is become involved in our upcoming events. Again, we'll notify you through our listserv, but that's a fantastic way to learn about all of these venues that I spoke about previously and when they'll be rolling out. These are all happening in real time. And so encourage you to become familiar with our website and engage in our events coming up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for the conversation and tuning in this morning. We look forward to continuing discussions. And now back to Drew.
Perfect. Welcome back, everyone. That was a wonderful session. Always great to see all the momentum on the statewide level on opening up data and creating this new data consortium. And I know I speak for the rest of the steering committee that we're really excited to work with the consortium and look at ways where the urban retail water utilities and wholesalers can work to streamline data and make it all more beneficial to Californians. So we're going to transition towards our next panel and get them all queued up. And so we'll get all that set. We have an exciting panel on trends in agriculture coming up next. And so we'll be getting started in a few minutes for that.